Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. So we talked about the Oscars a little bit yesterday, and I didn't talk about the actual Oscars because, quite frankly, I don't really care about it. I just care that the numbers are dropping. I would venture to say most of you who are listening to the Kevin Jackson Show didn't even watch it. I heard, here's some interesting things to think about, though. 500 LAPD police officers were at the Oscars, supposedly protecting the elite. 500 LAPD officers. Did they give every celebrity one, as a bodyguard? I can't even imagine that. Look, I've done big events. I was at CPAC. Let me think. I'm really trying to be honest here. If I saw 100 officers in Secret Service, I'd be shocked. And I'm talking about a huge building with thousands of people. And when Donald Trump, the president of the United States, was there, they had Secret Service, no doubt about it. Lots of plainclothes people, officers in SWAT, in tactical gear, and I'm sure some military. And I can tell you that if I saw 50 of those people, I'd be surprised. So I'm doubling it to say there were 100. 500 people. LA police, LAPD officers protecting people that don't want guns. I wish they'd have just said, we're going to bring in the Boy Scouts. Or, you know what? Bring in the Chippendales. I don't care. But don't give them guns. Let them protect these people. If they want protection, these are the biggest hypocrites on the planet that have to get 500 LAPD officers. I guess it's cheaper than their normal security force, because we always talk about teacher pay. We rarely talk about cop pay. No offense to teachers. I mean, y'all are important in my life, but I think a cop should get paid more than a teacher. That's just my personal opinion, but I believe a lot of people probably share it. Now, that being said, teachers are putting themselves in harm's way these days because there are a lot of bad students. Man, you guys wouldn't believe. I talked to people that were telling me, so I met some friends up in Oregon. They said their daughter teaches what they call special needs classes. Now, you think special needs are kids with autism or kids with Down syndrome. They said, nope. Special needs has become, get this, you're not going to believe it. If your parents aren't together, like you got a daddy in prison or something like that, and you're a behavioral person, you are in special needs. This guy told me, and his wife were telling me that his daughter teaches these special needs kids, and she says she's in mortal danger. They will fight. They spit on her. They curse her out. She says, the parents were saying, this is crazy. She's been doing it a year and a half, and they were like, well, you got to pay your dues. So the young teachers are getting these kind of assignments, and if you can survive it, and I mean, they said there are people that threaten their daughter's life. They have hit her. She's got bruises, black eyes, all kinds of stuff. I said, man, if it were my kid, I would be, she'd be a ninja. And if I had a daughter that was teaching that, I said, she'd be a ninja and she'd be daring people to hit her. I said, she'd be knocking people to flunk out. And it was funny to hear him talk about it. Guys, his wife is a mayor. I talked about her the other day. She's Hispanic and he's Dutch or something. Anyway, very fun couple. And they were just saying this is how bad it's gotten in education. But you know what? Regardless, I'm just saying a cop doesn't know what he's going to have to do. He or she's going to have to do. They run into harm's way. Teachers, you might get a completely benign job, but you're not going to get a benign job as a cop. Even some of these, what seem to be, cookie cutter, not cookie cutter, but, easy jobs like in the boonies or whatever. You got meth heads, crackheads, drug dealers, crazed people with firearms. So anyway, 500 LAPD officers on the job to protect these elitists. The other controversy, I don't know if this came to be. Maybe one of you guys can let us know. 844-551-8255, KJRadio.com. But Ryan Seacrest was supposedly controversial for the Oscars. He's been a mainstay, they said, on the red carpet for years, interviewing the A-listers. Host of E! If you guys know what that is, E exclamation point. But there were allegations of sexual assault. And here's what I'm going to tell you. If you haven't noticed, the Me Too movement hasn't gotten a whole lot of coverage these days. People are beginning to say, wait a minute, is everybody a sexual predator? Is every man going to be accused of sexual predation? I was talking to folks the other day that was saying, Kevin, these were guys going, what could you, who knows what's going to come up in 30, 40 years that you thought was an innocent flirtation or you were doing nothing. And they'll go, well, and I go, let me tell you, trust me, every guy is on notice for this. I don't have any fear of it. What are you going to do to me? So, but every guy's on notice for this kind of nonsense. But when they went after Seacrest, I saw a little bit of it. I don't remember. I was at the airport or something, and I saw Kelly Ripa hug Ryan Seacrest and say, I have full faith in you, Ryan, and gives him a kiss on the cheek or whatever, which, by the way, somebody will probably say that was Ryan Seacrest sexually harassing her or she was intimidated and did it. But regardless of how it happened, I believe they're starting to overplay their hands because now people are going, well, he supposedly molested his hairdresser or something like that. And it was over a period of years. Let me tell you, if the hairdresser didn't say, you know what, I'm leaving. I saw a little bit of the story. They said this: the ex-stylist of Ryan Seacrest, who claimed she endured years of unwanted sexual misconduct, was put in physically inappropriate situations on multiple occasions, according to a former co-worker who said he witnessed the alleged harassment. Here's what he goes on to say. She would go to tie a shoe and Ryan would shove his head towards her crotch. I mean, look, these stories are getting so outlandish that the women's movement is losing. And rightfully so. Half of the women, I guarantee you, if Seacrest shoved her head towards his crotch, it's because the woman goes, Ryan, you can shove my head towards your crotch. I mean, it's ridiculous. Okay, she hung around for years. If you were going to book Ryan Seacrest and that's what he does, would you stay doing it? Secondarily, does anybody believe this woman dropped to tie his shoes? Let me ask you this, guys. What woman would drop to tie your shoes? Has your wife done it? Maybe. But it's only because she's crazy about you. Because let me tell you, I don't know of a woman that just drops to tie your shoes because she's, doesn't have any interest in you. We'll be back.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Beth Cook Moranville, author of Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope.
Hope, that wonderful, wonderful 4-letter word that you may feel completely out of. I wrote this book to give you great hope. It's not too late. If fetal position is an all too familiar place for you, I understand. If the next 60 seconds are too long, this book is for you. Wherever you are right now, whether you're dealing with divorce or death or sickness, take hope. You are going to make it through this pain. Don't roll your eyes. I've walked this road and I know it. The best is yet to come.
Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope from author and speaker Beth Cook Moranville, can be found on Amazon.com or Kindle.com. For more information, visit closerthanyourBreath.com or on Facebook at Closer Than Your Breath.
This Jackson Radio Show.
What's up, everybody? Glad you guys are here. So, I've always told you guys, and I'll tell you this till I get off the radio, signs. I give you signs. And there was a sign recently that you're winning, the Delta CEO. He came out after Delta said, we're going to, take our ball and go home from the NRA. And people responded, including the people of Georgia, particularly the legislator who said, hey, Delta, if you're going to do something like this and penalize an organization that has nothing to do with guns, had nothing to do with the incident, and you can willy-nilly do that, then we're going to take away your $40 million. We touched on it the other day. And I didn't know what the outcome was going to be. I know there was a big clamor. Here's the problem with the airlines. You can say, I'm not going to fly Delta. I don't fly Delta very much to begin with. So when I fly Delta, it's because it's the cheapest rate or it's the only way I can get to where I need to go. The airline industry is a bit of a monopoly in this, or certainly a territorial thing, because Delta, if you're flying out of Atlanta, you're probably flying Delta. If you're flying out of Dallas, you're probably flying American. That's just the way it is. United has its hubs and so on and so forth. So there's not a whole lot you can do. I mean, we could do some, but a legislator decided, you know what, I'll do something. So he says, I'm going to pass a bill that says if Delta can do this, and there's going to be a price to pay. And I'm glad he did it. Smart of him to do that, because he responded based on what people in Atlanta said. You folks. I'm in right outside of Atlanta somewhere, one of our radio markets there. I apologize for not knowing. But they responded. And then he responded. And so then, as a sign, the Delta CEO came out and says, we support the Second Amendment. Who tried to tell you? Hear me now. Who tried to tell you that we don't support the Second Amendment? CEO Ed Bastian said in a memo to his employees that the company's goals was to remain neutral in the debate over guns. Really? Well, Ed, you weren't very good at it. Remaining neutral isn't penalizing an organization that has nothing to do with guns. It would be like after every car wreck, you penalize the I don't know, AAA, right? AAA's got nothing to do with cars. They just say, if you're going to be in a car, it's probably going to break down. We would, if you want a way to potentially fix it, or, we'll come out and help. But every time there's a car wreck, I'm talking about a multiple car wreck. People kill a drunk driver. Every time there's a drunk driver, AAA, what's with the drinking? What's going on over there with the drinking and the drugs? That doesn't happen. So Ed Bastian, who wants to remain neutral, allows his corporation to say, hey, NRA, we're going to pull your benefits or whatever. Because how these companies do. They negotiate a thing that says, we've got 5 million members, give us a little bit of a discount to our people that use your services. And apparently, most of the NRA people don't use Delta, because of the people that were impacted by the decision of Delta, it was 13. They figured out it was 13 people out of 5 million. I'd say the NRA got the best of that deal. When you think about it, I don't know what you do, if there's kickbacks or, rebates or whatever else, but it didn't cost the NRA anything to negotiate this. Or maybe they didn't get the word out to the people of the NRA that Delta gives it as discount. If only 13 people took it, was this really worth the negative press on Delta for 13 people? I could see it if 1.3 million people were taking advantage of the Delta discount through the NRA. 13 people. That's it. So Delta goes front and center, potential to lose $40 million over this. I don't know. Look, the discount on a seat for Delta, if they'd gotten the NRA on board, they would have more than made it up, because you got, let me put it to you this way. If Delta had come out and say, look, we want to make sure that the people of the NRA know that we do honor your commitment to us and the fact that we've negotiated this deal. In fact, with all the pressure being put on the NRA, we would like to extend, make sure that people know that we honor the NRA, we honor the Second Amendment, and so on and so forth. Now, I'm not going to make a prediction of whether the left would have been mad about it, because I'm sure they would. But I will promise you this, conservatives would have been like, well, look at Delta. Not following that political correct nonsense. Now, let me tell you something. I'm letting you in on a little secret here. The companies that begin coming to the rescue of groups like the NRA, the Tea Party movement, etc., are going to see a renaissance. They're going to see their stock go up. They're going to see their usage go up. You are going to, whoever has the guts to give this discount to the Tea Party community, which we happen to, I happen to own 95% of the teaparty.org, and I hope you join. When they give discounts to us, when they start actively doing this, and trust me when I tell you, it's going to happen. You're going to see wholesale change in those companies. And you're going to watch companies that were formerly, anti-Trump, anti-conservative, anti-whatever, anti-American as far as I'm concerned. You're going to watch them start to shift over. You're going to watch the football run commercials that are for positive things of conservative companies. You're going to watch it. These are going to be the signs. And the sign that the Delta CEO had to come out and tell people, look, we're sorry. We support the Second Amendment. Ending a discount for the NRA because of a shooting in Florida. And then they were getting a tax break for jet fuel. Who do you represent, Delta? Just some of the Americans? Because let me tell you, the number of Americans, forget what the NRA, there are many people. The NRA is a good lobby. Don't misunderstand me. And your $50 a year, whatever you pay to be a member, is one thing. But let me tell you something. The number of people who care about firearms and are not members of the NRA dwarfs that organization. The biggest gun lobby in the country is nowhere near the NRA. It's the ordinary person. And believe me, many of them are Georgians. Many of them. Here's what he said, Bastian. Our people and our customers have a wide range of views on how to increase safety in our schools and public places, and we are not taking sides. Well, a little late, because he took a side. But I like the fact that he had to come out and say this. He went on to this. He added this. He says, we are supporters of the Second Amendment, just as we embrace the entire Constitution of the United States. Now, let me tell you what that means. When he has to throw in the Constitution and the Second Amendment, he went completely Gadsden on you. And he had to. Because people are sick of him. People want to feel like they can talk about their rights and the Constitution and the flag and the national anthem. And let me tell you something. You know what Delta was thinking about this whole time? They were thinking about that NFL. Oh, yeah. Don't think for 1 second. It's gone unnoticed on them how the NFL's numbers have dropped. And a host of others. I already talked about Starbucks and all these other places. You know what? Little late, but smart move. But it's a sign, folks. That's all I wanted to tell you.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Belief. Leftists speak of belief in man's wishes, and they tell you that anything is possible if you only believe. Welcome, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. It's Kevin Jackson Show. I thought about my belief system growing up. Now, there's two ways to think about it. There's what you believe in terms of what you can accomplish, right? The left will tell somebody, you can be anything you want to be. All you have to do is dream, etc., etc. But if you profess, for example, that belief in God, many will ridicule you. Is a belief in something greater than yourself a righteous belief? I certainly think so. I think that's man's most amazing quality, is to be selfless, is to say, you know what? I'm willing to stand in front of the bullet on behalf of somebody else. I'm willing to give my life in sacrifice of something that I think is a greater good. Military people do it all the time. They go to war. That's one of the reasons they go. They gladly give their lives. The police will do so. Other people will do the same thing. And yet, when you say what drives a person to do that, and you mention something and you say, well, it's my belief in God. It's my belief in something else. If life is so precious, why are there so many people willing to give it up for somebody else? Why does the left ridicule that notion? Fight against it, in fact. To me, that's an interesting question. Because they claim to be altruistic and humanitarian and philanthropic and all these different things. And you would think that they would be the first ones to say life is meaningless. If in other words, if I'm willing to sacrifice for somebody else, there has to be something better. If not, you're fighting to stay on earth. You're fighting to keep your riches. You're fighting to keep your cars and your houses and your, girlfriends and boyfriends and whatever else you may have. You're fighting for that. So what really are their beliefs? I mean, in my opinion, none of the things that I've seen of the left stand the test of time. They don't even stand the test of now. Muhammad Ali said, it is repetition of affirmations that lead to belief. And once that belief becomes a deep conviction, things begin to happen. He was talking about it in terms of winning the championship. Now, he converted to Islam and, gave his life to Allah. And I don't know what's going on with him in terms of that. That's his walk with God or Allah or whatever it is. But he fought for much bigger than just being the champion of the world. And he was certainly noted for more than that. What do you think his belief system was? I mean, forget, I'm not trying to make this about Christianity versus Islam or whatever. I'm just asking you, here's a man who had a firm belief system in God, in his case, in Allah. I don't ever remember them ridiculing him for it. A farmer plants seeds, and from those seeds spring crops. And crops feed civilization. But if a man were to gaze upon a seed, would he see such a future? If you were to take the average person that didn't know anything about farming and say, here, and you put a seed in his hand, do you think he would see what that seed would become? I wouldn't. The core belief right now, folks, for leftists is resist. Resist. Ask them, resist what? I've seen video after video. What are you resisting? I'm resisting Donald Trump and, the fact that he is, Donald Trump and he's the president and, no, but specifically, what are you resisting? I mean, you've got a pretty good economy. You've got, foreign policy that seems to be coming in line. You've got trade policy that's being looked at. People are getting jobs. Yeah, but we must resist. Resist. And as Sharpton would say, resist we much. And to this we much thus resist. They have no other core beliefs. Core beliefs of conservatives have withstood the test of time. They remain true to this day. Like I said, believe in yourself. That's what we're taught. But who are you? We know we're children of God, unworthy of his grace and his mercy. Well, what do the left believe? They believe in their belief system. I can be all that I want to be, whoever I want to be. And the minute they can't become that, then they lose their core. They lose their minds. They lose their minds. And they shoot up schools. They shoot up churches. They shoot up their arms. They don't know how to handle it. They find themselves, and you know what they find? I'm an empty shell. I'm an empty vessel. I don't know what I want. I don't know who I am. A guy by the name of Blaise Pascal said, belief is a wise wager. He's speaking about it spiritually. He says, granted that faith cannot be proved, but what harm will come to you if you gamble on its truth and it proves false? If you gain, you gain all. If you lose nothing. Wager then without hesitation that he exists. Now look, I'm not trying to make this a sermon. You guys know I'm a Christ follower, but I'm a failed human being. Very failed, very flawed, admittedly so, and so are you. That's why I don't feel bad talking like this. And I think in many cases, hopefully this shores up things for you. I'm not going off Philippians 4:13 on you, but I am trying to give you the notion to make you understand that when you talk about conservatism, you're talking about Christian conservatism, Judeo-Christian values. I'll include the Jews. You're talking about somebody that has a belief in something. And that's why when we talk about politics, we're not selfishly talking about them. We're talking about it from the standpoint of helping mankind. Because you know what? The only people on this planet who understand that this life isn't that big of a deal are the people who believe in something else. And that's why we don't hold it that seriously. If that were the case, wouldn't we all be fighting for Ferraris and fighting for the big house and fighting for, all the bling? I mean, look at who really fights for that stuff. There are people who earn it. There are people who go out there, they do their thing and they earn it that are conservatives. But let me tell you, liberals will fight for it. They will connive. They will do everything they could. Look at the Clintons, a perfect example. Nothing wrong with wealth, by the way. Nothing wrong with it. If you come by it honestly, if you give your part to God and say, God, here's the 10% you deserve, and then save some, and then help others, live within your means. There's a whole lot of ways that the Bible tells you to deal with that. But here's the thing: money's not bad if you pursue money and that's the only thing you want. That's bad. Same way as if only thing you want is lots of women or lots of jewelry or lots of big house, whatever. The pursuit of anything. Maybe you love gambling. Belief. What do leftists believe? H.L. Mencken, he was a prolific author back in the late 1800s. Well, he was born then, in the early 1900s. And he says, democracy is a pathetic belief in the collective wisdom of individual ignorance. He's saying all these ignorant people get together, they form a democracy, and then they vote on that. He pretty closely mimics what America has become. Save that we are a democratic republic, thankfully, and not a democracy. And he went on to predict something. He predicted Barack Obama because he says, on some great and glorious day, the plain folks of the land will reach their heart's desires at last, and the White House will be adorned by a downright moron. He predicted it. See, the reason we're talking about this belief system is this. Leftists spend a lot of time seeing, but they don't observe very much. See, what we do is we observe. We look at the accountability factor. We ask ourselves, okay, I see that person does this every day, but I don't understand why they do it that way. They could save time. They could do this or whatever. We observe, and then we refine, and we make things better. The left don't do that. The left observe, and they ignore. They've observed other cultures, other civilizations that have failed at leftism, and yet they still have a belief system that fails them. We've observed cultures and looked at the ones that worked. We pieced together the fabric that became America. We called it the Democratic Republic, a democratic republic. We called it the United States of America. And over its entire existence, everybody wanted to get here. From the beginning, people wanted to get here. And as flawed as it has become under liberalism, people still want to get here. But it's not because of the left. It's because of you and your belief system. See, you see and you observe. What is the reason that we are in this situation? Christopher Lasch said the effect of mass media is not to elicit belief, but to maintain the apparatus of addiction. Mass media is merely a marketing arm for the leftist movement. So what's happened is leftists have put our beliefs to the test. For example, do you believe in the justice system right now? Given what you've witnessed between Hillary Clinton and what's gone on with James Comey and McCabe and all those guys, do you really believe in the justice system? I contend your belief has been tested.
Kevin Jackson on the Black Sphere Radio Network.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Putting an end to identity politics. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
How did I get elected? I didn't have anybody for me. We just got an army of people who, and many women who left their kitchens to go out and go door to door and to put yard signs up for me all the way.
First off, I want to say your comment earlier about the women came out of the kitchen to support you. I'll come to support you, but I won't be coming out of the kitchen.
I got you.
Let's talk about some of the issues emerging this weekend on the campaign trail. Donald Trump is blaming protesters entirely for the chaos that broke out Friday in Chicago. He says his people are not violent. It's, quote, these people that come in. You've had something to say about this. What's your view?
Well, there's no question that Donald Trump has created a toxic atmosphere, pitting one group against another and name-calling and all those kinds of things.
That was John Kasich. Oh, my gosh. That dude is just a piece of work. Welcome, everybody. Kevin Jackson. Here's the Kevin Jackson Show. 844-551-8255. John Kasich, governor of Ohio. So he's back in the news, and he's been easing his way back. And it's funny to watch Kasich because every time I watch John Kasich, I just feel like I want to cry. Like you look at him, he just looks like he's ready to just. Is it just me? I mean, don't you think? I mean, we've talked about this before, right? I'm talking to my producer, but I see the guy. I see a whiny guy, and it was funny when he was campaigning. He would say the same thing. I'm the only guy that balanced the budget. I'm the only guy here that did this or that. I'm the only one. And what was funny when at the very end, when it was Trump, Cruz, and Kasich left, and Kasich was an afterthought. And he actually thought he could be the president of the United States through some crazy stroke of luck. I'm going to be the president of the United States. I will tell you, the next cab driver I get in the cab with, and I don't even know who that is, I don't know where it's going to be, he has a better chance of being president of the United States. I have a much better chance of being president of the United States than John Kasich. And I'm a relative unknown. Even though I will admit, I've been going, like I was out, had to go do some shopping, grocery shopping. And I'm over at Costco. And a dude walks by, he's like, hey, man, how you doing? I was like, good. He goes, something like either keep up the good work or whatever. And I was like, okay, thanks. And then a lady walked by and she goes, oh my gosh, Kevin Jackson. And she puts her hands up above her, through her head and like couldn't believe it. And I was like, yeah, it's me. And then she just sneaked off down an aisle, down one of the big Costco, aisleways or whatever. It's funny to watch it because I'm like, I don't get it, but so here's my point. My point is not how popular I am. No, my point is that with whatever little popularity I have, I could beat John Kasich. I'm not even kidding. I won't even look from a policy position. Kevin, what do you think about Iran? Or what do you think about this? I'd go, here's the deal about Iran. Whatever I do, it'll be better than what Kasich does. That would be my strategy. They would be like, Kevin doesn't give a policy position on anything. I'd just go, well, I'll tell you what, let Kasich go first. And then he would explain his policy. And I would go, that's the most stupid policy I've ever heard. I wouldn't do it like that. That would be my campaign for thing against Kasich. If it was me and Kasich, I'd just say, I'm not John Kasich. Wouldn't do what Kasich would do. What a moron. And you know what's so funny is he fought Donald Trump. Look, I get it. He got his butt kicked. He's mad. He was hoping the Republicans were going to pull some shenanigans and get Trump out. And then whether he would admit this or not, and maybe he has, he hates that Donald Trump beat Hillary Clinton. He hates that Donald Trump became president of the United States. And let me tell you why, America. Because like most Republicans who paid their dues, when you're a governor, that's it. Next step, the presidency. Scott Walker blew it. Rick Perry blew it. Kasich, look at all the governors, and the governor is supposed to do it. A senator doesn't do it, and certainly not some neophyte billionaire mogul. He's not supposed to do it. He's not even supposed to be in the running to do it. And Donald Trump did it. And boy, does that make Kasich and the Republicans, what I call him, he might as well be a Democrat. It makes them so mad because they've already got that hierarchy in place. And Trump just came and poof, kicked it right at. He punted it, man. Boop, boop. Somebody hold it. Don't even bother to hold it. I'll just drop kick it. And he drop kicked it right through the uprights. And let's face it. Is there anybody listening to the Kevin Jackson Show right now? KJRadio.com. Call me if you differ. 844-551-8255. Is there anybody out there that believes Kasich could have beaten Hillary Clinton? Anybody? If you say to me, Kevin, he was a moderate and people liked him and he was much more amenable than whatever. Okay, fine. Let me know, moron. Let me know. I won't say anything bad about you, stupid. Or, not whatever. Just let me know. I promise you, I will not ridicule you. But I will ask and I'll read what you write to me. Give me a good reason as to why you would believe, because I don't think I'll get any messages on that. I'm actually giving myself no work. Now, if you agree with me, then you say, Kevin, there is no way on Al Gore's green earth that Kasich was going to beat Hillary Clinton. No way, no how. Maybe you let me know your rationale for that, because we got to give equal time to everybody. Kasich couldn't have done it. I know we're talking about 2020 already, even though in 2018 hasn't happened. But let me tell you what 2018 is going to do. 2018 is going to solidify, undoubtedly, that Donald Trump is in control of this country by way of God Almighty. Donald Trump is in control of the country. And after 2018, the field is going to narrow mightily. Number one, there will be no Republican challenger to Donald Trump after 2018. There won't be one for him anyway. Number two, the Democrats will have to narrow their discussion of who the candidate is. And I'm going to make you a bet. It's the front runners that you think exist now are going to be in big trouble because every single one of them voted against Trump. They have been anti-American, and they are going to have their hands full in making a determination on where to go from here. It's not going to work. Yet, we've got on their side of the aisle, on the crazy side, Biden, Sanders, even some are hinting that Hillary Clinton may come back. Let me tell you, you have to be the ultimate optimist to believe Hillary Clinton will be anywhere near the presidency. Number one, she got her butt kicked by Trump already. And number two, she'll be lucky if she doesn't need a pardon from the very man she wanted to try to prosecute and beat. The man she tried to set up. They don't have anybody. Oh, Kevin, they got those young Kamala. They got Kamala Harris. They got Cory Booker. Bring them. Bring them. I don't even think it's going to be any of the people that you're hearing about. I'll be honest with you. I don't. I know it sounds weird because well, then who would they get, Kevin? I don't know. They may try to get Bloomberg or somebody like that. They are going to try to fight Donald Trump completely differently because this isn't going to work. It isn't working. And when 2018 rolls around and all the other things I've been talking about, all these scandals hit, there will be nobody that wants to face all the things that Donald Trump is going to be throwing at them, saying these crooked people tried to steal the election And when that crooked nature of them is told, the truth of it is told, they have nobody. Who's going to be able to say, first of all, you won't have the apparatus in place to win a crooked election. They aren't going to have the ability to cheat. Hardcore Democrats are going to be mad at them. Already are, just so you guys are aware. But Kasich says he's got all options on the table for his future. He leaves office in January. Thank goodness. Cleveland. Woo. Ohio. Good for you. Says, I don't know what I'm going to do. When he was asked about his political ambitions, he says, but all options are on the table, both for me and my private and my professional life. But I want to keep a voice because I think it's important, whether it's trade or immigration or whatever. Leaving all options open. What Kasich is saying is, if for some reason Donald Trump is impeached or he were to die or whatever, then I will gladly get back in, and I think America's ready for me. And I'm going to tell you something. You can take this to the bank. John Kasich will never be president of the United States. Neither will anybody I've named in this segment. None of them will ever be president of the United States. You heard it here in the Kevin Jackson Show. Donald Trump, God willing, will, and I'm not talking about God willing, well, I am. I'm saying if Donald Trump doesn't die, will be president again in 2020. Take it to the bank.
He won't stop until he's the top-rated radio talk show host in America.
What kind of weird competitive freak are you?
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. We are in the midst of a trade war. You're listening to the Kevin Jackson Show, KJRadio.com. And the left want you to believe that the man who just came off the best first year in the presidency in modern history is an idiot still. Donald Trump, he's engaging in a trade war. What's he going to do? Look, we've done so well with trade in the past, haven't we? Under Barack Obama, 8 years, we lost $5 trillion in trade. $5 trillion. But Donald Trump, he's the idiot, right? He's the man who says, you know what? We're no longer going to lose in trade. And he's proven it. Look, I don't know how much you're following trade. I don't know what, if that's your bag. Is that your bag, baby? But let me say this to you. The first thing Donald Trump did was he got China to lift the beef embargo, where they would not accept American beef. Very first thing he did in trade. Now, I don't know how much beef's being sold in China, but I know Chinese, there's a lot of them, and they can't handle the production of beef all on their own, so they are importing American beef. That's the first thing that he did. Second thing that he did, when he went to China, he got them to lift the trade, to lessen trade by 63%, the tariffs, on 183 items. Now, I don't know what those items are. I haven't looked at them. I haven't gone into that deeper research. But 63% of the tariff is now gone from 17.3 down to 7.7% tax on those goods. And from what I hear, it's opening up the markets. I don't know by how much, but I know it's happening. Now, we currently have over a $350 billion. I think it's $387 billion, but it's a lot. China is our number one, trade imbalance partner. And Donald Trump says, we're fixing this or else. So now he's going after steel and he's going after aluminum. And he's doing it for a reason. He's being very selective in what he's choosing to go after. Everybody wants to pretend that there's this big trade war going on. Oh, it's going to crush our economy. Things are going to get so bad. Donald Trump says there are certain industries in a country that you must depend on. It isn't making widgets and little gadgets and plastic toys for Christmas. It's things that you depend on for infrastructure. This is where you need to have your technology. I was talking to somebody the other day. I said, have you looked at the technological advancement in steel over the past 100 years? Have you looked at the technical advancement in concrete over the past 100 years? Look at any of these ideas. Look at what we've done with metal, what we've done with aluminum, what we've done with titanium, and so on and so forth. There is a reason why Donald Trump is protecting those items, those technologies, those manufacturing areas, is because he understands what comes from that. But these idiots, it's going to be the war, things are falling. You have to love listening to losers, people who've given away over $500 billion annually to other countries, and now they're mad that somebody who actually knows what he's doing, who actually has the intellect more than the baboon Barack Obama, they has the intellect to look at a problem and say, we're going to solve it. Here's the Secretary of Commerce, I believe, who was addressing this on Stephanopoulos. You got to hear this guy, because Wilbur Ross is who he is. And he essentially schools Stephanopoulos on exactly what the impact is going to be with all the skies falling. Because remember, everything Trump does, the outcome is Armageddon.
It sounds like a lot of the president's political allies believe this is going to hurt their voters in their states. You got the Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan, warning against unintended consequences. You're already seeing Electrolux in Tennessee put on hold a $250 million investment. The Wall Street Journal says this is the biggest policy blunder of the Trump presidency, that it's going to cost jobs, cost American consumers.
Yeah, that's really not true. Let me give you some actual numbers. Those sloganeerings don't really mean much until you put them into numbers. On an average car, it's $175 worth of steel increase is the maximum that would come from a 25% tariff increase. That's not much.
But that's assuming no more retaliation from the Europeans.
No, let me continue. Similarly, all the other products, the total amount of tariffs we're putting on is about $9 billion in a year. That's a fraction of 1% of the economy. So the notion that it would destroy a lot of jobs, raise prices, disrupt things is wrong. As to the idea of retaliation, sure, there may well be some sort of retaliation, but the amounts that they're talking about are also pretty trivial. It's some $3 billion odd of goods that the Europeans have threatened to put something on. Well, in our size economy, that's a tiny, tiny fraction of 1%. So while it might affect an individual producer for a little while, overall it's not going to be much more than a rounding error.
I love how Wilbur Ross says, hold on, you don't know what you're talking about. Let me go on and finish, little boy. Oh, my goodness. Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson's who you're listening to. It's always the skies falling with Trump. And you know what? I say to you, enjoy this. Enjoy it. Because let me explain how the tariffs work. It's so incrementally small, whatever is going to happen with this, it won't be felt for so long that even if it were bad, it's not going to impact. It's not going to have any impact on the population. Now, notice Stephanopoulos says, well, people are scared. Paul Ryan warned against unintended consequences. Well, let's look at unintended consequences. For example, the unintended consequences of, say, let me think. The tax break, the tax cut. The unintended consequences, which, by the way, happened to be intended, were that they put more money back into the hands of people. That was the unintended consequence. The unintended consequence was people got bonuses, people got more of their tax money back, and it put a boom into the economy. That was the unintended consequences. And so we saw the Treasury actually put more money in for the period ending in December, October, whatever, I think it was December. For that quarter, we had more money coming to the Treasury than at any time in history. That was an unintended consequence. So if you think the unintended consequence of a trade war is going to be that the United States lowers its trade deficit to something much more reasonable, and we start getting our partners to behave, and we take in their products, but they're going to be taking a lot of ours, and therefore it means that manufacturing of products that go outside of the country is going to increase dramatically, then yes, there will be unintended consequences. Short break. We'll be back in a bit. Listen to Kevin Jackson.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Beth Cook Moranville, author of Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope.
Hope, that wonderful, wonderful 4-letter word that you may feel completely out of. I wrote this book to give you great hope. It's not too late. If fetal position is an all too familiar place for you, I understand. If the next 60 seconds are too long, this book is for you. Wherever you are right now, whether you're dealing with divorce or death or sickness, take hope. You are going to make it through this pain. Don't roll your eyes. I've walked this road and I know it. The best is yet to come.
Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope from author and speaker Beth Cook Moranville, can be found on Amazon.com or Kindle.com. For more information, visit closerthanyourBreath.com or on Facebook at Closer Than Your Breath.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. The left wants to blame Donald Trump for everything bad. Things that the man has nothing to do with. Nothing to do with. So right now we're talking about his tariffs. We talked about that before. And it's, again, we're going to use the word Armageddon. Armageddon is going to happen. A guy who's got the most successful first-year presidency probably in history, but certainly in modern history, and is proving every single day that he knows more on how to fix this economy, how to fix our foreign policy, etc. I'm not saying the dude's perfect, but he's done some really amazing things, and they still complain. And believe it or not, and we're going to get to Russia and some other things here in a bit, but believe it or not, they're actually blaming Donald Trump for the school shooting in Florida. If you think I'm kidding, listen to Garamendi talking about this on Laura Ingram's show.
Congressman Sean, you've raised a very valid point. And one of the things that we need to do is to use tools that are readily available and have been available for us for some time to be used in schools to deal with those precise issues that you raised. That is the acting out, the loneliness that some people have, and the isolation and bullying that does take place. Coming out of Columbine as well as Sandy Hook are two very successful programs that are available in schools. It is interesting to note that in the president's budget, he removed some $50 million that was precisely for the purpose of safe schools. That is to make these programs available to deal with those cultural problems.
That's all right, amigos. It is Trump's fault. School shootings going on in record numbers under Barack Obama. And you got some Democrat congressman who says, oh, no, it's Trump's fault. That's the level of derangement syndrome that we have right now for Donald Trump. And, you know, you're going to hear me say this a lot. Be happy that these people are off the deep end and you have somebody getting something done. See, what Donald Trump will do eventually, he will figure out a way to make schools safe. And when these guys talk about, he cut the budget by $50 million for safe schools. What do you mean? First of all, why are we having a budget of $50 million for safe schools when all we got to do is arm teachers? And oh, by the way, in 2013, Barack Obama proposed the same thing. It's funny how the left have selective memory when it comes to solutions for things. Selective memory. So this was on the heels of the school shooting in Newtown, Connecticut, 2013. And Obama put millions of dollars into arming school officers throughout the nation, which, by the way, coincided with what the NRA recommended and many others at the time. And see, what happens with the left is things happen where, in the past, and they because of the politics of it don't suit their needs, they don't say anything about it. Where was Schumer and all these other anti-gun people when Barack Obama said, here was his exact quote. He says, "We won't be able to stop every violent act, but if there is even one thing we can do to prevent these events, we have a deep obligation, all of us, to try." That's what he said. So the Justice Department allocated $45 million to create 1,000 school resource officers. These are the very types of people that didn't prevent what happened in Parkland, Florida, okay? And they said these are specially trained people to work in school, and they expand the mental health personnel, 1,000 of them. Now, there are 98,000 public schools in America, give or take. So they certainly needed more than that. And you think you can do the math, multiply 45 million times 90, multiply by 100, and you get the number. It's a big number. And so what Trump is saying by removing this $50 million is he's saying, first of all, you don't need those people in schools. You may need mental health experts, but it isn't for the students. It's for the liberals that have built the school system. So what he's saying is we'll offer a bonus to teachers who are willing to take the safety exam, understand what it means to get a firearm, and we'll put them in the schools that want them. And you know what you'll find out? You're going to find out the obvious, Captain Obvious out there, because that's what we are. You're going to find out that schools that have trained teachers who have firearms those schools will not get shot up. And the schools that don't, in the inner cities where we're afraid of the guns, they possibly will. Now, you're probably not going to find these inner city schools getting shot up anyway, because that's not who gets shot up. It's some aggrieved suburbanite school. We just talked about Parkland, Florida. We're not talking about the inner city, Chicago gangland schools. Those schools don't get shot up. People are too afraid to go over there. I don't know why. Don't ask me. It's not for me to figure out. Somebody go do a study and find out why. But it's generally one of these little suburban schools, Columbine or whatever, where the disgruntled Wiccan kids or whatever, not to impugn them, but whoever are the ones who do it. So Donald Trump's looking at this from a pragmatic point of view and saying, look, and I'll be honest, look at the studies, look at the clusters, and determine where you need to put these people. I don't think every school needs to be armed. I really don't. I think there are many schools that are doing quite well and have a very unlikely need for that. Or where regular law enforcement, I'll get it out, where regular law enforcement will be able to take care of things. But in the ones that you think are at risk, armed teachers. And quite frankly, if I were a teacher, I'd say I want to be armed in any school that I'm at. That would be my take. But the idea that they blame Trump because he took this money away, and at the very same time, Barack Obama put the money in, and it never look at the school shootings from 2013, from when he implemented this or wanted to the present day, and you still got people shooting up schools. So he didn't solve the problem. Trump's going, look, this is a problem. Kids should be safe in schools in order to learn. Not only should they be safe for a learning environment, they should be safe from bullying and all the other things that this guy talked about. It's funny when you hear, and this I'm talking about Garamendi, the quote from him, the clip we played earlier. He's talking about bullying and all these things that occur at school. And who owns this? Who owns what occurs at these schools? The bullying, the teasing, and whatever else that occurs. Is it a bunch of conservatives that are in that school talking about kumbaya? Let me tell you what happened to bullies when I was in school. They got their butts kicked eventually. And people went, I'm glad you got your butt kicked, bully. And then that was the end of that because nobody wanted to replace him. Bullies teach lessons. And I'm not talking about, the beating up of kids. I'm talking about they make kids harder, tougher, stronger. And they also rally people around them and say, why are you bullying? And people go after the bully. And you get this mass, attack on the bully to where that person is made to feel guilty. These schools that tell you, oh, we're going to eradicate all this stuff. They've eradicated nothing. What they do is they create people like this kid, Nicholas Cruz. And then you know what they do? They run from them. They pretend they had nothing to do with the creation of these clowns. Short break.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
I think there's sometimes a sense watching and reading all this coverage that the wheels are falling off of the Trump administration.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. That was Brian Stelter of MSNBC. Delusional. Glad you guys are listening. KJRadio.com, 844-551-8255. The wheels are coming off the Trump administration. I swear, when you hear things like this, I get excited. I love the hyperbole of the left. Because what it does is it energizes us. Because you hear it and you're like, what? What could you possibly be thinking? And they think they're energizing their base. They're telling people, this is horrible. Look at what's going on. And people are going, I don't get it. I don't quite understand it. But they do, because they still have this leftist brain. Some of them still go, well, I guess they are coming. The wheels are coming off. But here's what's happening. It's resetting. The more these people tell you that Trump is delusional, none of his policies are working, and then they work. Suddenly they work. And you're going, how do I rationalize this? And what happens is, because Trump is such a good job, let me put it this way before I make the next statement. I know you can't take the president out of the news cycle, but take Trump out of the news cycle. And what are these people reporting on? We're going to be talking about the Russian narrative yet again. And here's why. I just want to explain to you folks how little people care. It's like the Oscars. I don't know what the numbers are going to be for the Oscars. Here's what I can tell you. When I went on Twitter the other night, they tried to force me to watch the Oscars live. This was on Sunday night. And I clicked off the little thing because I knew what they were doing. They wanted to beef up the numbers. Oh, yeah, we had this many people watching on Twitter. If you were on Twitter, which is a social media platform for I'm telling this to a lot of the older people listening to the program, it automatically pulled up that live feed. So it was trying to force me to watch the Oscars, and I clicked the button and went, nope, you're not fooling me. I'm not watching you. Now, they're going to fake you into believing that, we had millions of people watching all over the world. No, they didn't. Twitter forced you to watch it even for 5 seconds so they could count you into that number. And they can count me, but I didn't watch it. And let me tell you, neither did most of you. You woke up on Monday morning going, what? Who won Best Picture? Something about water? What? You probably don't know. And unless you're going to go on Jeopardy, you don't care. That's how little we care about them. But let me tell you what is being cared about. People getting money back in their paychecks. People going back to work. And all this pontification by the left of Donald Trump, blah, blah, that. Believe me, people are getting sick of it. And I'm going to talk about this in just a bit, but I want to finish playing the rest of this clip.
And I think that causes some people to tune in because they want to know exactly how bad things are. But then it might cause other people just to tune out, not want to hear it, not want to try to make sense of it all. Is that something you've seen in the past, Jeff, or is this unique?
I think there is always a tendency on the part of a president's loyalists to look at negative coverage and say they're picking on him. But the difference is, first of all, you have a big counter-press. If you think back to Watergate and wonder what would have been like had there been a Fox News, a Breitbart, a Hannity pounding away at the press for being biased and liberal and leftist, you wonder whether or not it would have developed quite the same way.
No, nothing to wonder about. Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here, KJRadio.com. Nothing to wonder about. If Donald Trump had done something wrong, the press that currently supports him would not support him. It's really that simple. The people would not support him. You know, it's funny. They want to make it, if this type of press had been around during Watergate, Nixon probably would have gotten away with it. Gotten away with what? What is Donald Trump getting away with? The Russia investigation is done. Mueller right now, they're saying he's asking for Trump's emails between the staffers. That's going to be his next move. Now, Trump will probably give it to him, but what's going to happen eventually is Donald Trump's going to say, look, enough is enough. You've got everything you need, and you should be shutting down. If the Democrats are smart, they'd shut this thing down. I'm telling you right now, as a strategist, if the Democrats were smart, they would say, we got a few indictments, we're done, it's over, and that would be the end of it. And then they'd let the chips fall where they may, or they would at least try to back away from it and just say, okay, look, we're done. We didn't find anything on Trump. But they're not smart. They're stupid. And they're going to push this thing. They've already pushed it to the point where we know where the guilt is. Nunez talked about it. In fact, let's play that clip.
So you don't agree with the president who was not happy that he appointed Mr. Horowitz. You have confidence in Michael Horowitz as the Inspector General.
Well, look, I welcome anybody to come help investigate, because so far it's only the House Intelligence Committee Republicans who are actually doing anything to get to the bottom of who was colluding with Russia. And the more we peel this back, we have clear evidence of collusion, but it's not between the Trump campaign. It's between the Democratic Party and the Hillary campaign and the Russians. All
right, everybody. And, of course, we know that. We know that to be a fact. There's so much evidence against the Barack Obama, the Hillary Clinton campaign, and a host of other leftists, including the media's collusion, that it's ridiculous that they continue this ruse. But here's the sad part about all of this. The sad part, it was revealed by Tucker Carlson in terms of the people and what they think about this investigation. This is sad. It's going to be up to us to let this investigation play out. And I think the Democrats are hoping that this is what happens. But here's what Tucker has to say about this.
So the Russia story is just huge. It's unbelievable. There's nothing more important. They hacked our democracy. Putin's in charge. Every American cares. We know that. Well, I don't know how we know it, because the new USA Today poll shows that literally less than 1% of voters say that so-called Russian meddling is their top election issue for 2018. CNN hasn't seen the poll, obviously, or they don't care, because tonight they're running something called Trump in Russia, a CNN investigation, which describes their programming every day. That's pretty hilarious. We've been hearing about Russia nonstop, literally nonstop, for more than a year. Almost no information has come out to justify the obsession. None has come out to justify the claim that there was collusion. And most Americans are no longer interested, if they ever were.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. That's sad. That's sad. 1% of Americans are interested in the Russian collusion story. And you want to know why? Because the Democrats and the media have figured out how to milk this thing to where there's nothing. There's no tie to Donald Trump. And what that 1% is telling you, I want you to think about how much media has gone into this, how much heat they've put on this story. And with everything, I'm talking day in, day out barrage by lamestream media, MSNBC, CNN, etc. The day in, day out, they got 1% of the people who go, this is going to be an important issue coming up in the next election. Nobody cares. Think about that. Now, what would happen if we force them to continue to look at this thing and look at it for what it really is, where you connect the Podesta dots and you connect the FISA court dots with Barack Obama and so on and so forth? What would happen then? Let me tell you, first of all, they'd start shutting it. They, as I said earlier, they would back off of this thing so fast and say, no, it's over. I mean, they indicted Manafort and they got, that Gates guy, and then, okay, that's the end of it. This has gone so bad. I mean, where we can't even trust the Justice Department, the FBI. This is where we are. I told you guys, if you look at government and you're supposed to have faith in these systems, you're supposed to have faith in the federal government, in the judiciary, and faith in these different systems like the education system, and faith in all of these different things that government is supposed to do to represent you, and you, O ye of little faith. And rightfully so, because you now understand that the government is not in your corner. The government does try to pick winners and losers. The government does. We do have a caste system in America where there are certain people who are above the law. Now, what I'm saying is this. In order to get Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama and these guys, you can't let this be at 1%. You can't. All the media, the trickery that you think is supposed to keep Russia in the news is really an attempt to drown it out in noise. That's what they want to do. They want to get it to where you hear it over and over and over. And eventually, when we pick it up, when it's time to turn the tide, people are going to go, oh, man, they're still talking about that Russia thing? Yeah, but this time we know how Russia got the uranium and the deal that was cut with the Podesta boys. We know that all of this stuff was ginned up by the Barack Obama administration, and what they wanted to just become so dragged out that we go, people just have fatigue, and you're there. You're there. 1%. So if you understand the game of politics, I mean, look, my part of it is the drip for the Republicans has been good because it'll lead into the 2018 elections and it'll be nothing. And I still believe that. I believe the Democrats, somewhere along the line, they've said, you know what, we're going to have to concede that this isn't going to work. Our ruse has failed. But the bigger picture, if they were to turn the tide on us, this is worth, the strategy is worth it, because if they ever get an indictment against anybody on the Democrat side, game over. And that's what they're most afraid of. We'll be back on more of this.
Kevin Jackson on the Black Sphere Radio Network.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Putting an end to identity politics. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
They are saying only 1% of the people care about the Russia story. Whoa! Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. That's what Tucker Carlson said. They did a study. I don't know who did the survey or whatever. 1%. That's not good news for us. I know that's what people want to believe, is that, it's disinterest. Russia goes back to the Democrats. Don't feel good about that. We need to keep this story alive. We need to get this next special counsel that will start looking into this, and we need to revive what's going on here. Glad you guys are listening. KJRadio.com, 844-551-8255. And what's interesting is that as you look at this thing shake out, and I'm watching it closely, I'm looking at the people involved across the board, and what's, like the FISA courts and things like this. And I'm watching the media. There's all the stuff they want us to see, and then there are the things that you have to glean from it all. And here's what The View, they had Adam Schiff on. And Meghan McCain presses Adam Schiff on, what is coming of all of this? You've done nothing here. I mean, you've had a long time to look at this and nothing's occurred. And I want you to hear what Adam Schiff has to say. It's the same thing he's been saying now for months. And you make a determination of where you think this is going.
And many Americans to differentiate between what is overhype and what isn't. You've said on more than one occasion that you've seen ample evidence of the Trump campaign's Russia collusion. Last March, you said you had more than circumstantial evidence of treasonous collusion with Russia. What specifically were you referring to? And please be specific, because if it's true, I do believe Americans have the right to know a year later what that is.
Well, I've certainly said that there's ample evidence of collusion. I've never used the word treason. Only Steve Bannon has used that word. But if you look at the facts that are already in the public domain, they're pretty damning. Starting with what we know about George Papadopoulos, one of the few foreign policy advisors to the campaign. We now know that Papadopoulos was approached by the Russians and told back in April of the election year, even before the Clinton campaign knew, that the Russians had stolen Clinton and DNC emails. And we also know that they previewed their dissemination, the anonymous dissemination of those emails with Papadopoulos back in April. Now, it was only weeks later that the Russians made a second approach to the Trump campaign, this time at the highest levels at Trump Tower, in a meeting that they previewed by saying that they wanted to offer incriminating information about Hillary.
Is it enough for Mueller to bring charges? Because if it isn't enough for Mueller to bring charges, what does that mean?
Well, what it means,
charges of collusion.
This is a very important question, and that is, what's Mueller's job and what's our job? Bob Mueller will make the decision whether there is proof beyond a reasonable doubt to indict and convict people. It is not his responsibility to tell the country what happened. And indeed, there's no guarantee that the country will ever learn what Bob Mueller finds apart from an indictment. It's the job of the Congress to tell the American people what happened. Whether it reaches the standard beyond reasonable doubt, or we merely find clear and convincing evidence of collusion. So it's important, I think, that we set out the facts for the public, set out the facts about what the Russians told Papadopoulos, about what the Russians did in setting up that meeting in Trump Tower. Now, bear in mind that meeting in Trump Tower, which takes place after the campaign is alerted that the Russians have these emails. Don Jr. is told, hey, at the highest levels, ultra-sensitive, we have information incriminated about Hillary Clinton as part of the Russian government effort to help Donald Trump. That looks a lot like collusion to me.
And you're a former federal prosecutor.
Yes.
I just think if Mueller doesn't end up charging him, it's a lot of smoke and mirrors.
Yes,
rough.
We don't
Thank
know.
you.
But we won't know. We don't know. Until Congress, you know what I'm doing. I'm rapping you, and I'm so sorry because you should have been here the whole hour.
I know.
That's what I'm saying. But
so essentially, what Schiff is saying, and by the way, Whoopi Goldberg had to bail him out of this because he said nothing new, and McCain was drilling down. I mean, I'm not a fan of Megan's in the sense of her political astuteness, but she was drilling down on, like, you've got nothing here. And trust me when I tell you, she's no conservative. And she's going, look, this needs to be done. But I want to play another clip from Tucker where he's got a Democrat on the show, and he's saying, tell me where this is going with you've got no interest in Russia. What should your party be doing? And it's interesting what this guy came back with.
And so it's really Democrats who've been driving this, and we've had a bunch of them on this show, nice people.
Yes.
But if they don't know anything, why are they so obsessed? And why aren't they talking about things that Americans actually care about?
I wish I knew. I take a lot of issue with my own party. There's a lot that we can improve on. We need a coherent message to deliver to Americans other than just resist. We need to be giving them ideas where we can maybe improve their lives, other than just giving them, promises of resist.
Wait. What
I don't even know what we're resisting.
The lives of illegal aliens here and giving them citizenship and voting rights. I thought that they'd shut down the government over that. Remember that? That was the top priority of the Democratic Party.
We've got to do more than resist. Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. He's right. They've got to do more than resist. But as I said earlier, I've really looked at this from a strategic point of view and asked myself, why are they continuing to cover a story that they know points back to the Democrats? And that's prototypical leftism. They have to continue the ruse of looking into the story as it pertains to Donald Trump in order to keep you from looking at it from what it really is involving, which, of course, is all the crookedness of the Obama administration and Hillary Clinton. And when they do that, it slowly drags out. I thought the drip was good for Republicans, and to some degree it is. It'll be good for them going into the 2018 election cycle. But what it's really meant to do is to keep the Democrat Party from imploding. So it's either we take a little bit of a hit during the 2018 elections, or it's devastation. The true Armageddon that's brewing out there has to do with the Democrats. That's a fact. Now, I want to also play another clip. It's Representative Matt Gaetz on the FISA court. And this is a court that's been stacked with Obama judges. And what's interesting about that, and it's not many people discuss this, Justice Roberts is the one who has to approve them, who says, yeah, these are the people that can go on it. He's the one who let Obama stack the FISA courts. But anyway, here's Matt Gaetz talking about it.
To revise the process so that what happened to President Trump never happens to a future American president. So I went looking for solutions, and I found that in 2013, the gentleman from California, the ranking member of the Intelligence Committee, wanted to give the President of the United States the power to appoint FISA judges. He argued that then judges would be more ideologically diverse. They'd come from different areas in the United States, and they would be subject to Senate confirmation. Today, I filed that legislation, and I would encourage the gentleman from California to join me as a co-sponsor so that we could advance bipartisan legislation to approve the FISA process, because, Mr. Speaker, if it was good enough to give President Obama these powers, it's good enough to give President Trump these powers.
Welcome back, everybody. So that was Matt Gaetz. What he was saying there, and I'm sure you guys are aware of this, but so Adam Schiff, who's been the biggest guy to want to get Trump on Russia and essentially promoting a lie. He should be impeached. He should be recalled as a congressman for what he's done. And I've said to many people, if you didn't like Pelosi, or if you don't like her, if you didn't like Harry Reid or Chuck Schumer, what you're seeing with Schiff is he's worse than all three combined. That's what you have that's worse. He's worse. And so Gaetz is saying you wanted the FISA court judges to be appointed by the president, because I think that kind of goes back to what I said earlier, which is he only recommends them, but it's Roberts. And look, I'm going to do more digging into this, because I'm really concerned about Justice Roberts having allowed, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I know it's stacked with Obama judges. And you have to ask yourself, how does this happen? How do we have supposedly, I remember when Roberts was appointed as a Supreme Court judge by Bush, I was ecstatic. I think most of us were like, wow, he's a staunch conservative. And then, of course, we got Obamacare. And I was going, what did this guy just do? We were 4-4. His vote would have done it. And so then it made me wonder, what do they have on this guy? And then you start to, I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist here, but as you start unraveling everything that's happened with NSA and people talking about Barack Obama's big database that he keeps on people, and you certainly understand how D.C. works, where they get a little dirt on you and then they make you do things that you never thought you'd do. And I'm going, what's up with Roberts? There's something there. And I'm vetting it out here. I'm kind of putting it inside my head, because I don't know. But I don't know how you could possibly have stacked that court with those judges when supposedly the Supreme Court, the Chief Justice, is the one who puts them on there. I don't know how we got here.
He won't stop until he's the top-rated radio talk show host in America.
What kind of weird competitive freak are you?
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
The Italian election showcases that Donald Trump is winning. Welcome, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. It's the Kevin Jackson Show. KJRadio.com. The center-right in Italy won. Do you know what their platform is? It is Donald Trump's platform. It is, you need to stop this crazy immigration level of Muslims into Italy. It is, you need to get some fiscal restraints. You need to start taking care of your own citizens before you start looking at what you can do to help others. How can a dying animal save another animal? That's essentially what they're asking you to do. Europe is dying. Italy has a financial crisis, and they want to save everybody else around the world. Let me tell you something. If you want to save the world, help them save themselves. The United States has tried it. We've given billions of dollars, trillions of dollars to other countries. For what? To get nothing out of it. To get people going, America, I hate America. I want to bomb America. I want to do this. We have been exporting crazy for decades and importing crazy. And finally, we start exporting the right stuff. The Italian prime minister, the new one, or whoever's, I don't know how the government all works over there and don't really care. But what I heard is that person is a Brexit type person that says, to heck with the European Union. If Italy needs to go it alone, go it alone. Let me tell you something. People love Italy. They love it. They want to go for the food. They want to go for the culture. But if that culture is gone, what are they going to have to go to? You can't let people come into your country and ruin your culture. By the way, there's an Italian city. I forget what. Let me see where we got that story. I saw the story, and that governor, Venice, the mayor of Venice. Here it is. This was reported in RT Russia Times, but it says the mayor of Venice has warned that shouting Allahu Akbar in Italian city will get you shot, prompting the mayor of Florence to shout the Islamic phrase as a joke. The Venetian mayor, Luigi Bugnaro, made the comment during a conference of mayors in the city of Rimini on the Adriatic coast. If someone shouts Allahu Akbar while running through St. Mark's Square, we will shoot them. A year ago, I said after 4 steps. Now I'm saying after 3. He says, we arrested 4 terrorists in Venice who wanted to blow up the Rialto Bridge, but we will send them directly to Allah without having to do any harm before. They foiled that plot in March of last year. Unlike in Barcelona, where they have the protections, we keep our guard high. We do not challenge anyone. We are sending a message of support to the police forces who must know that we are on their side. This is what is happening, folks. The mainstream, lamestream media here in America doesn't want to tell you what's going on in Europe. They don't want to tell you that people are sick of this. They look at Brexit and go, those Europeans want to get away from the European Union. How racist of them. They're a bunch of colonizers, unless the people are working for them, blah, blah, blah. They give you all kinds of reasons that have no basis in logic as to why these people need to stay and take the abuse. To heck with them. So anyway, Donald Trump is now essentially exporting Americanism. That's what you're looking at. And the election that you just witnessed in Italy, if you were paying attention, is exporting excellence. It's saying, you know what, folks? If you don't put your culture first, nobody else will. Now, the beauty of America is we aren't Italians. We aren't French. We aren't Germans. We aren't Canadians. We aren't any of that. We are Americans, and that doesn't mean anything about color. It doesn't mean anything about your ethnicity. There are in fact, I think we're the only culture that I know of who even considers a hyphenation, meaning there are so many of us that people can go, America's made up of Germans, Polish, Russians, Africans, which is, by the way, that's the continent, but, Somalians, Sudanese, Ghanans, Nigerians, and so on. Mexicans, Asians of all different types, Japanese, Chinese, Korean. We are everything. When you think of America, you don't think white. That's not what you think. You think of a melting pot. Now, you may go, stupidly, Americans only speak English or whatever, which is nonsense. That's absolute nonsense. I've thought about all these things that people say about Americans. Americans are egotistical and all these other things. We're not egotistical. You just feel bad about yourselves. When we go over and we talk about the beauty of America or how great America is, it's not being egotistical. It's a fact. The Ryder Cup is Europe against America. It's the world, rather, against America. Many things when we go to the Olympics, they measure almost in every sport the world versus America. In almost everything we do, it's because we make up so much of the world. Anyway, I'm just telling you, Donald Trump has just been a godsend when you look at how the world is looking at, all of their policies. You're going to watch. Global climate change is going to it's going to just take a back seat here shortly. Nobody's even going to talk about this nonsense because Donald Trump goes, we're not a part of it. You're going to watch all these sacred cows of leftism go by the wayside. And the Italian election, folks, is a sign. I talk about these signs all the time. It is a sign. I'll give you others. Talked about them just recently. What's going on with Trudeau in Canada? He was the golden boy. You don't hear much about him except how they lampoon him. How he's backed away from his own previous stance on immigration. And now who does he mimic? Donald Trump. What about Macron? Pretty boy Macron. You don't hear anything about him. Angela Merkel admitted there are no-go zones in Germany. She says that's not good. You shouldn't have those types of zones. What's she going to do? She's under fire. The German government is changing back to a populist government. They call the Italian election a populist election. They made that a bad word. Donald Trump has run on populist appeal. What else do you run on? You run on populism. You're the most popular guy. Who gets elected student council in school? The popular kids. So what? Are we supposed to just go because they're popular? They can't be effective? Not only is Donald Trump popular, he's effective. And what they're telling you in that word is that all their polling is nonsense. Donald Trump, his polling numbers are down 38%, 37%, 36%, and dropping. But he won the populist election. Oh, but Hillary Clinton won the popular vote. Then why didn't she win the populist election? Idiots.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Beth Cook Moranville, author of Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope.
Hope, that wonderful, wonderful 4-letter word that you may feel completely out of. I wrote this book to give you great hope. It's not too late. If fetal position is an all too familiar place for you, I understand. If the next 60 seconds are too long, this book is for you. Wherever you are right now, whether you're dealing with divorce or death or sickness, take hope. You are going to make it through this pain. Don't roll your eyes. I've walked this road and I know it. The best is yet to come.
Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope from author and speaker Beth Cook Moranville, can be found on Amazon.com or Kindle.com. For more information, visit closerthanyourBreath.com or on Facebook at Closer Than Your Breath.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
I've often said that all the wisdom of life can be found in Proverbs. And there's a verse in Proverbs that says only fools concern themselves with just their opinions, and not show interest in others. And when I think about that, that's Proverbs 18:2. I say to myself, that's exactly what liberals are. That's what they represent. They represent fools, because liberals only care about their opinions. There was a girl who went to CPAC, an Indian girl, and maybe she was Asian. Well, same thing technically. And she was at CPAC, and she's a leftist. And there was also a leftist reporter there. I talked to him. He was with the Root, NBC. And people were like, "What are you doing here?" And I said, "Leave that man alone. Be happy that he's here, because he gets to see us. He gets to see who we are, what we do. We want them here. And he was like, yeah, this is exactly right. I want to be here. I don't want to have any preconceived notions or whatever. I said, I don't. My friends are like, don't interview with him. He's just going to spin it. I said, you know what? He can do whatever he wants with my words. I know who I am. But anyway, this girl, she comes there. She writes for the Wall Street Journal. And it was a mind-blowing experience for her. She says conservatives wanted to hear what she had to say. They wanted her to speak first. They weren't interrupting. They were very cordial and nice and so on and so forth. She said it was an amazing experience. And she's come out to say, I've completely been misled about what conservatives do and what they represent. I say this all the time. I have this argument with people all the time. A debate. Kevin, I'm a fiscal conservative but a social liberal. And I always say, what does that mean? It's easy to know what a fiscal conservative is. Everybody theoretically is a fiscal conservative, meaning they want to be. They have no problem with that. I want to save money. I want to pay my bills on time. I want to have a good job, whatever. But I'm a social liberal. Meaning what? You give more to charity. That's what they think. They don't. You have more concern about mankind. That's what they think. They don't. You care more about the environment. That's what they think, but they don't. You care more about humankind. Nope. Anything. Name it. Animals. Nope. They don't care. They are under such a ruse of what they represent, and they believe it. They think they're better. Now, they'll side with us on fiscal conservative. You guys are right about that. You should save your money. You should be good stewards of your money. I'll give you that. But on everything else, you're wrong. You're mean. You're racist. You're misogynist. You hate women. You hate this. You hate Muslims. You hate Mexicans. And none of it's true. It's flatly a lie. I will tell you, I don't hang around. I don't know any conservatives that tell me, Kevin, I hate Mexicans. I hate illegals. No, we don't appreciate illegals breaking our laws, and we certainly do not hate Mexicans. Now, you'll have some that have some bias against Muslims. I do, because they blow stuff up. But I don't hate Muslims. I can tell you this, the majority of my life, I hadn't even thought about Muslims until leftists started introducing them into the culture and saying all these bad things. I used to go, when I traveled, I was in many parts of Africa that had Muslims and never thought a thing about it when the world was safe. Never thought a thing about it. I'd hear their calls to prayer. I knew a little bit about their culture. I'd been at their homes, talked about not Christianity per se, but America. They wanted to know about America. Had dinner in their homes, talking about these issues. They love to talk about politics, but that was it. Never thought anything of them. Never felt like, they're, in fact, I used to say to myself, wow, these guys are pretty, they at least they follow our politics. That's what I would say. But now, yeah, do you want to say I have a bias? I absolutely do. I've seen the level of Muslim attacks that have escalated. Had a conversation with some people the other day, and I was telling them how terror attacks have escalated through the decades, and they're blown away. And I go, don't believe me, though. I want you to go look for yourself. Even though you heard it from me, you need to see this yourself. In the 70s, one Muslim attack in the entire world in the decade of the 70s, 13 in the 80s, 37 in the 90s, and 2,000 plus in the year 2000 by itself. And we've had almost 2,000 Muslim attacks worldwide every year since. Every year. And so you tell me that we're supposed to be feeling better about Muslims? They're attacking resorts. They're attacking towns and villages for no reason. That you've seen what's happened to our Christmas parties, the nightclub in Florida, the Boston Marathon, and many others that have been planned and thwarted. And they're being thwarted all over the world. And luckily, we're finally at a point where we are making progress against them. But man, it's been very difficult to do. So fools concern themselves with only their opinions and show no interest in the opinions of others. And so when we want to voice our opinion about things and look at the logical side of these things, the left get angry with us. They start calling us names and telling us who we are, and we're not those people. And that is why I'm fighting hard to say, you're not going to tell me who I am. Now, I don't know what you guys are going to do, but I'm not going to get told who I am. You tell me who I am, I'm going to spin it back on you. You're a racist. You're a racist. You're a misogynist. You're a misogynist. You're homophobic. You're homophobic. And you go, well, what's that going to do? It sounds rather childish. No, it isn't. It's me responding back to what I'm called, and I'm going to keep saying it back. And not only that, I'm going to say, it's really funny to me that you would even bring this up because it shows where your mind is. It shows exactly how you think. President Trump is being attacked with these things. It's been going on for a long time. And you know what he does? He's now to the point of ignoring it. Call me what you want. I've now got time under my belt, and it's only going to get worse for you because he has this distinction of being a president who's actually keeping his promises. Talked about that on a team call the other day, that we should do a meme that says President Trump hated for keeping his promises. He didn't keep anything from you. Probably, I would venture to argue, maybe you guys will differ with me on this. I think President Trump has been one of the most open presidents in the history of this country. Open. Here's what I think, even when he gets it wrong. Like, who was he talking about the other day where he said, the guns. Grab the guns, ask questions later. And I remember thinking, no, you can't do that. I disagree with you, President Trump. Everybody has to have due process. Well, they're crazy, Kev. Crazy people are getting guns. Okay, very well could be true. But you can't arbitrarily say, I'm going to thwart your due process just because I think you're crazy. Prove I'm crazy. Prove I'm going to do something. Look at my Facebook page, look at my Twitter page, look at Instagram or whatever you look at. Go ask some people. Then say, this guy's crazy and he doesn't need a gun. But until then, you can't do it. So I'm not dyed in the wool for Trump. If he makes a mistake, I'm going to tell you about it. And you will too, because we're open-minded. That's the difference between us and them. Back in a bit.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. So we've got a little bit more on the Academy Awards, the Oscars. I told you guys they tried to stack the deck. People really loved it. They watched it. And let me tell you, not a whole lot of people are watching the Oscars these days. And those billboards that were circulating saying things like, this is the biggest gathering of pedophiles and sexual abusers on the planet and things like that. It was horrible. I mean, it was great because it showcased what they really are in Hollywood. But I'm saying on the backdrop, Hollywood had to feel pretty stupid. I told you guys, 500 LAPD protecting these clowns. Because, they don't like their guns unless they're protecting them. I can't even go out in public without people wanting to put me on their cameras. Yeah, they want to catch him. They want to catch all the paparazzi. They want to catch him. Who's now in love with whom and going to get a divorce and all these different things. And no pictures of my kids. They protect their kids like you wouldn't believe, but they don't care about protecting yours. I promise you they don't. So, the 90th Annual Academy Awards, some of Hollywood's biggest stars tackling sexual harassment, LGBT rights, immigration reform, and hot-button issues. And when are they doing this? As they're getting their self-indulgent trophies about their ability to perform. Yeah, they're just acting. But they got to get up there and, let everybody know, I'm down with the cause, man. Hey, thank you for my Oscar. But listen, it's not about me. It's about immigration reform, man. Yes. I want to give a shout out to all the people who are suffering out there, wanting to come into America, this, that, and the other, and all the people, the LGBT community, and I don't know, and just anything that the leftists talk about. Can I say something really clever and have everybody agreeing with me and wanting me in their movies? Thank you. I no longer need Harvey Weinstein. It's too funny to watch him. They're pathetic. They're pathetic. They said these are the hot button things, the 6 things that were the biggest things about the Oscar ceremony. I'm telling you right now, I didn't watch it, don't care about it. Like I said, unless you're into trivia, I don't even care. I don't know who won Best Actor, Best Actress. I think the film they won was something about water. It had water in the title. That's all I know. But here are the 6 things I said. Kimmel touts Me Too in the opening monologue. Second-time host Jimmy Kimmel didn't shy away from skewering Hollywood for its treatment of women, kicking off the award show with a monologue filled with one-liners taking aim at the entertainment industry. Here's how clueless Hollywood is about women. We made a movie called What Women Want, and it starred Mel Gibson. That's all you need to know. Yeah, because Mel Gibson, well, he's a famous womanizer, right? Yeah, we're hearing all about him. And when they brought up Harvey Weinstein, I don't know about you, but the first person that came to mind was, oh, Mel Gibson. He did it. Kimmel went on to hail, they write, the Me Too movement, telling the crowd in L.A., the world is watching us. We need to set an example. Don't be surprised if Kimmel has a sexual abuse lawsuit against him in the next 2 years. Same thing. Look at what they're doing to Ryan Seacrest. I talked about this dude the other day. A woman says, I reached down to tie his shoe for him, and he pushed my head towards his crotch. I'll ask you, guys, anybody believe that? First of all, you have to believe that a woman reached down to tie his shoe. Who's his hairdresser? She's his hairdresser, not his shoe tire. Did he say, hey, look at there, my shoe's untied? You know, like, pull my finger. Why would she do it? Look, common sense tells you this woman is probably beaming over the idea that she's doing, what's his face? You know, whoever he is, his hair. She's beaming over it. I can see his face. He looks like a lizard to me, American Idol. I just called his name and I can't remember. Anyway, the point is, she's with a star. This is the guy that appears with Kelly Ripa on the morning after, replaced, what's his face, the other black dude, Strahan. So he replaces him, Seacrest, Ryan Seacrest, thank you. And he's a star. He was from American Idol. He does America's Top 40. This dude is making millions of dollars. He could, no offense, he can have practically any woman he wants. In Hollywood, are you kidding? Ryan Now, look, I don't think the guy's that good looking, but maybe Hollywood does. But it doesn't even matter. Look at Harvey Weinstein dating married to one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen. What do you think that was? His great looks, his good personality? So Seacrest can have anybody, and a girl reaches down, I'll tie your shoe for you, Ryan. And then Ryan Seacrest goes, oh, you know what? While you're down there, I'm going to humiliate you in front of witnesses. Come get to my crotch. If he even did it for whatever reason, I guarantee you it was because it was meant to be funny, and everybody was like, oh, push your head down. Or she was like, what are you trying to do? Push my head towards your crotch? And he'd be like, oh, whatever, okay. Even though I don't even believe it happened. And look, I'll be honest, I don't care about Ryan Seacrest. I don't care about any of those lefties. I don't care about those Hollywood weirdos. But I do care about the truth, and that we at least give the dude the benefit of the doubt. They said he got the cold shoulder on the red carpet. Again, I don't care. He gets the cold shoulder, but Pollock gets a standing ovation. Harvey Weinstein got everybody's adulation for decades. And an accusation from years ago, and guess what? Seacrest is going, what are you talking about? That's what we have, folks. We have that type of a situation brewing in America. And Jimmy Kimmel, I'll get involved. Man, I'll take care of everybody. And then this lady, Nyong'o Najani, she supports Dreamers. And I read this and I was like, this doesn't even necessarily mean she's truly supporting DACA. She's in Black Panther. She's from Kenya. Told the crowd that he's from Pakistan. This is a Black Panther star. She says, told the crowd he's from Pakistan and Iowa, shared their support of Dreamers, the term frequently used to refer to recipients of the DACA program. She says this, like everyone in the room and everyone watching at home, we are dreamers too. Dreams are the foundation of Hollywood. Dreams are the foundation of America. To all the dreamers out there, we stand with you. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm a dreamer. I don't know how you guys are. I'm a dreamer. I certainly want to know, my part of the American dream. I'm fighting for it every day. Fighting for it for your kids. Fighting for it for you. Dreamer. Hey, speaking of dreamers, here's one I bet they didn't want to bring up at the old Oscars. A Mexican national has confessed to stealing the identity of an American citizen, and over the course of 37 years, pocketing hundreds of thousands of dollars in government benefits. Andres Avelino Aduaga, 66, who hails from Tijuana, Mexico, admitted in San Diego federal court on Thursday he assumed the fake identity of a Texas resident named Abraham Riojos in 1980 after obtaining a fraudulent birth certificate, then successfully applied for a California driver's license, social security number, and passport. And from 1989 to 2016, according to his plea agreement, he received around $361,000 in benefits, which include Medi-Cal, food stamps, SSI, supplemental security income benefits. The fake identity also enabled Anduaga, identified as an illegal immigrant and repeat felon, to go back and forth without restriction between Mexico and the United States, which he was alleged to have been doing multiple times per week. Anybody know what for? What do you think it's for? You think he went because he was getting comic books or checking in on his family? What was he doing? The programs that this defendant stole from for decades provide benefits to America's most needy. This prosecution demonstrates a commitment of the U.S. Attorney's Office to protect the integrity of our welfare program and punishing those who prey on the goodwill of our nation and its taxpayers. This is U.S. Attorney Adam Braverman. Do you believe that the government is really going after guys like him and making a example of him? I don't. I think he's a one-off. But do you think Hollywood's going to give you the lowdown on this DACA dude? I don't think so. I think Hollywood doesn't want you to know this guy exists because they want you to be under the idea, under this fake notion that these are good people coming over here to do good things. And no, they're not. $361,000 later, who footed that bill? Did Jerry Brown pay it? Who's paying it? Let me tell you, California doesn't have the ability to say, hey, listen, we're going to bring in 1 million or whatever number of illegals and get away with this. When we come in for the next segment, I don't know if we'll talk about this subject, but I'm going to play a clip from a sheriff who says, I know we've spent $1 million on illegals, and this is somewhere in Ohio. He's going, this is ridiculous when you think about the number of jails we have.
Kevin Jackson on the Black Sphere Radio Network.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177, or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Putting an end to identity politics. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Fed up and just tired of paying up. So one sheriff is billing Mexico for the cost of dealing with the surge of illegals in his county. Butler County, Ohio Sheriff Richard Jones writing, and I quote, "I think it only fair that you provide me with some financial support for dealing with your criminals." Well, Sheriff, that gets right to the point. What have you heard back?
Nothing. I don't expect to hear anything right away, but it brings it to the attention of everybody. You know, I'm just one county in Ohio. There's over 3,200 counties in the United States, and I'm looking at $1 million I feel that they owe me just for their prisoners. Can you imagine what it is all over the country at 3,200 counties and the city jails? And with the free assistance, you're looking at hundreds of billions of dollars probably, Neil.
Amazing.
That is amazing. Kevin Jackson here. Also amazing. KJRadio.com, 844-551-8255. A lot of money spent on immigration. Illegals. A lot of money spent on illegals in this country. The left doesn't want you to know it. They don't want to admit it, but they know it's billions of dollars every year. The left don't want to tell you the truth about things because if you know the truth, you'd never side with them. There'd be they couldn't win elections. Look, we don't have a whole lot of time. Trey Gowdy commented on Adam Schiff's obstruction. These are the people that told us they wanted to do everything in their power to get to the bottom of, all these various scandals. Open and honest, hey, we're going to let everybody know how things are. We want to be transparent. And then you get the most transparent president in modern history. The most transparent president, the guy that tells you his opinions, right or wrong, whether you like him or not, and they attack him for it. But anyway, here's Gowdy talking about Schiff's obstruction.
And we're back now with House Oversight Committee Chairman Trey Gowdy. And Mr. Chairman, you were in the middle of a thought about that footnote. Was it the footnote in the Democratic rebuttal?
It was, but Maria, this Democrat memo, it makes me smile. If it were Adam Schiff, if it were up to him, it would have been a haiku and not a memo because he did everything he could to keep us from finding out any of the information that was in either one of those memos. So Congress has proven itself incapable of investigating this FISA abuse. DOJ should not be looking into it. We need an independent arbiter. That's either the Inspector General or Special Counsel.
Now, we played this clip earlier. This is MSNBC's Brian Stetzer. I think his name is Stelter or something like that. He says that the wheels are off the Trump administration and that the Trump guys are the ones that are in trouble. And I only play this again because I want you to see just how distorted the left is on things. And then we're going to end with Don Lemon talking about, he appeared on late night talk shows, and he was talking about President Trump. I want you to hear what Stelters had to say about the Trump administration and all of the chaos, I guess, that's going on there.
I think there's sometimes a sense watching and reading all this coverage that the wheels are falling off of the Trump administration. And I think that causes some people to tune in because they want to know exactly how bad things are. But then it might cause other people just to tune out, not want to hear it, not want to try to make sense of it all. Is that something you've seen in the past, Jeff, or is this unique?
I think there is always a tendency on the part of a president's loyalists to look at negative coverage and say they're picking on him. But the difference is, first of all, you have a big counterpress. If you think back to Watergate and wonder what would have been like had there been a Fox News, a Breitbart, a Hannity pounding away at the press for being biased and liberal and leftist, you wonder whether or not it would have developed quite the same way.
Now, I talked about this earlier in the broadcast and said nobody would have gone to bat for Nixon. And Nixon, what did he do? He spied on the other guys. He didn't use the NSA or whatever. So I don't know what he did. He tried to get somebody to break in. Illegal. I wouldn't have supported him. I wouldn't be rationalizing what he did. Glad you guys are back. Kevin Jackson's who you're listening to, KJRadio.com. These people are delusional. They're full of themselves. If the Academy Awards and all the other ones, the Oscars, the Emmys, the Tonys, etc., People's Choice, American Music, how many award shows are there? If that doesn't show you that these people are so full of themselves, then I don't know what does. They want us to believe that they really know what they're talking about. I'm listening to Braun Stelter, and then I forget, you'll know the guy who's followed on. I don't know his name. I just know his face. And I listen to these guys, and I listen to their rationalizations about what they think we're doing for Trump. Look, we are not, I can tell you many people who were not happy when Trump released the budget. I know many, many millions more who were unhappy when he said he wouldn't prosecute Hillary Clinton. I know many millions more who were mad at some of his staff choices, and some of them I think are still bad. I believe he's still got far too many swamp rats in his administration. And his latest declaration that, and I know he was joking about Xi, who's the Chinese prime minister who says he should be prime minister for life, but Trump saying we should seize your guns first before you get due process. I'm completely against that. And probably a few other things he's talking about, but the things that he's for far outweigh what I'm against so far. Now, that doesn't mean I'm excusing him because he says, hey, we take the guns first and then we check you out. No, you have to check me out and then take the gun. And when you're checking me out, there has to be checks and balances against that, because the leftists will call, they can go see as many shrinks as they want and get colonics and have all kinds of nutty things that they do with their lives, but you do it and they'll call you crazy and take your gun away. The gun grab's happening, folks. In case you weren't aware, if you have a domestic violence, I'm talking about a woman slaps her husband because she catches him cheating or whatever, and it's in front of a cop, or he says if the cops show up for whatever reason, he says, well, she slapped me, she's going to jail and she can no longer own a firearm. It's that simple. I was looking at Heather, what's her name? Heather Locklear. She was in the news, Knots Landing or something. Used to be. I never thought Heather Locklear was hot. You guys are too young. Don't even look at me. I never thought she was hot. I always thought Heather Locklear looked like dressed up white trash. Truly. And she got role after role. I'm talking about in some of the top shows. And I just never thought she was that big of a deal. And then they showed her now. She's much older, and it was her mugshot. And she looked road hard and put up wet. But she apparently slapped her husband or somebody and got arrested for domestic violence. She can't own a firearm. Woman, male, doesn't matter. Now, I want you to look at the lifestyle of many of these kids growing up with latchkey, environments, no fathers, and okay, good example. When the cops killed, he got killed, thankfully, but there was a black dude in Minnesota who the cops responded because he was beating up his wife, and when the cops went to get him, he tried to get the cops' weapon and they shot him. And people were mad at the police, the very people they had called, because this man was beating up his wife and nobody wanted to stop him. So they were mad at the police for killing him and he was beating his wife. And there were black people, hey, they killed that man in cold blood. What? But anyway, my point to the story is many of these young black men have no ability to deal with their anger and things like this. They're going to catch a domestic violence thing and can't own firearm, period. And if you ask me, if you look at the cycle of how the left is doing things, that's what they want. If you're a black man with a gun, it has to be illegal. And it reminds me of the case in St. Louis where the guy was trying to do a heroin deal, and the cops, you can see the film, they do a high-speed chase. They finally catch the guy, shoot the dude, and they said the cops planted a gun. And I asked the question of some lefty on a radio show or whatever. I said, well, where was the other gun? And he goes, what are you talking about? I said, if the cop planted a gun, where was the black dude from the hood who deals heroin's gun? And he still didn't quite get it. And I said, where was the heroin dealer's gun? To make him understand that black people in the hood dealing heroin don't do it with nunchucks. They do it with a gun. So my point is, any black kid growing up, pretty much that has a gun, if he lives in that cycle of violence, there's an easy way to confiscate his guns and to make sure that he catches a federal charge and ends up in prison because he's got a gun. That's all I'm saying. And the left love this. They love the idea of a gun grab where you don't even realize, oh my gosh, and by the way, it could be something as small as your wife slapping you or your girlfriend slapping you. That's enough to get a domestic violence. Anyway, that isn't even what I was going to talk about. I wanted to talk about labeling Donald Trump, but we're out of time.
He won't stop until he's the top-rated radio talk show host in America.
What kind of weird competitive freak are you?
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.